Hey everybody, welcome to Coffee Tea, You and Me. This is the next edition in a series of programs that we're doing. We're talking about some of the truth that we've been able to uncover and discover from our True Voice process. And we'll talk to you a little bit more about True Voice. I'm so glad to be able to have this show. I'm so glad to be able to see you guys. All of those you who are tuning in from all over the world, I really am thankful and grateful that you participate in this discussion. As many of you know already, I have special guests that I usually have lined up, and sometimes it's just me, but I try to work and make sure that I try to invite the best minds to the table to play and to talk about whatever discussion topic we have on the table. If you like what we do, if you like the show, then please hit the like button. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you want to take advantage of any of the offers or anything, my number and everything is scrolling across the screen, so you shouldn't have any problem getting in contact with me. If you do have a problem getting in contact with me, feel free to bug me. You are special to me. You mean a lot. To have you as a part of the listening audience, to have you here is more than I can ask for. I tend to pinch myself and I'm like, how do I get this life? How do I get the opportunities to do the things that I do? I'm just a humble servant for small women-owned and minority businesses. I try to make sure that I give them as much as I possibly can to help them grow, to help them be more successful, to help them, not feel like they're in this thing alone when it comes to developing and maintaining high-quality business. My name is Coach Powell. I run Coach Powell Training Development, and I help entrepreneurs all over the world accomplish greatness through making sure that they focus on developing their energy, developing their focus, and developing their performance. Let's get this party started. Welcome to Coffee Tea, You and Me. I'm so glad to be able to offer you this episode to you guys. I can't even tell you what number we're on, but we're on a lot. I've been doing these episodes every Friday for about an hour and a half since COVID-19 started way back in March of 2020, I think it was. I don't even know what year we're in, but I've been doing this because it really keeps my skills fresh. It helps me to interact and stay involved with cutting edge information and ideas. There's a lot of content that I produce, but I try to refresh that content over and over because there's always a way to get better, right? There's always a way to move yourself forward, to create more opportunities for yourself and other people. And I'm really thankful that you are here. If you are participating in the workshop today or the discussion today, feel free to throw any information that you want in the chat section. If you want, if you are coming to me or coming here from any place else, if you're like coming in from or watching from any place, I'd like to know where you're watching from, how'd you find out about the program, anything you hope to get out of the topic. You may have already been exposed to the topic. I'm going to do you a solid in just a minute and tell you what it's all about. But if you've already been exposed to the topic and understand what the ideas we're going to be talking about today, go ahead and put some information in the chat. Let me know that you're out there. Tell me who you are. If you run a company and you have an offer that you like to make or make people aware of, or there's an event coming up or an announcement you'd like to make about your business, feel free to put that information in the chat too. I'll try to go through during the breaks and read that information, give you a shout out. It's just this for me. It's all about engagement, and you're going to see why I said that, because it means a lot. The more we engage, the more we participate, the more we can do and understand each other, and that's a very, very important thing to be able to do. It's critically important. So let's talk about our topic today. Our topic today is the third topic in a 5-part series called True Voice. True Voice is a program I put together that is really all about making sure that business leaders, entrepreneurs, professionals of all types can truly understand and hear each other in a way that they cannot hear otherwise. Now, I know some of you are saying, listening is not a problem. Listening is something we do all the time. It's very easy. All you got to do is shut your mouth, right? No, well, it requires a little bit more than that, really, to do really good listening. It requires you to be inquisitive enough to ask the right questions. And then It requires the authenticity and integrity of the person that you're talking to respond to your inquiries or the things that they're talking about in the most authentic way possible. And that is not always easy to do. When I first started creating TrueVOICE, I did it because I was in a lot of networking organizations. I was training and developing networking organizations, and I was helping them really try to get to know each other. And we had a process that I thought could be improved upon. And so I took the chance, the opportunity to do some research and to really figure out, what is it that people need to know from one person to another to increase the amount of trust that they'd be willing to give to each other dramatically, no matter how long they have been or not been in a relationship, connected to, or associated with one another. And so I had to dig deep. I read, tons of books. One of my favorites was Speed of Trust, right, from Stephen M. R. Covey. And he got that information from his father, Dr. Stephen Covey, who first defined trust, and I love this definition, as an amalgamation or a mathematical equation, so to speak, of how much character and competence you have is literally how much trust you can expect within the universe, right? So if you have an extremely high character, you have extremely high competence about something specific, then you can be trusted to handle that. Now, we're going to get into some details today that's a subset of that idea, because what we want to talk about today is literally what creates your integrity. Dr. Covey might say, when he talks about integrity, he might say, well, integrity is for simple math or simple understanding is self-trust. It's how much you know that you will keep your promises first to yourself and then to others. If you know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you have a level of integrity, specifically around specific topics or areas of interest or processes that you have participated in, and you understand them really, really well, you have competency, you have tremendous integrity on this thing, then you can be trusted by others because of that gift, that confidence that you have in yourself in that particular area. I would say you have a high amount of integrity. We all have to know where we have high amounts of integrity. Now, it's not across the board for everything. None of us is perfect or even close to perfect at everything, for sure, right? Some of us may be close to perfect in certain things. And so you have to think through, when you talk about this integrity thing, what makes it up? So the third section of the TrueVOICE process, which is an interview that we train our leaders and the friends and associates and clients of mine to begin to engage in before they start to say, I want to develop a joint venture partnership, or I want to invite somebody onto my advisory council, or I want to make somebody a member of my board. Running through the TrueVOICE process with a person is critically important. Even more important is running through the TrueVOICE process yourself, using it as a self-assessment tool, using the 14 questions that are in the TrueVOICE as a self-assessment tool. Now, for those of you who are paying attention, you should know that I've already put the TrueVOICE document in front of all of us. But if you need it again, there it is. I've reposted it, and I can share it right here. That's it. You should be able to go here to my personal Google Drive, right, and find the TrueVOICE document. All right, I'm going to be reading from it. I'm going to be sharing some ideas from it, but I'm going to be talking about some of the new research that I've also done. This document is something we put together years ago, but it still holds true and is still meaningful today. But I'm going to provide some updated training for those of you who are interested in finding out more about that. Do me a favor, flip me a text or whatever, and I will respond and figure out ways we can get together and talk about that. So what is this true voice thing? What is this third phase of the true voice process all about? Well, it's all about instinct. It's all about intuition. It's all about making sure that you have the insight that you need. Instinct, intuition, and insight. And how do all three of those ideas and concepts play to help you create a level of integrity that you can build upon to phenomenal trust with those who can then support all of your efforts and professional efforts, personal efforts, whatever that is. If you have a demonstrated amount of integrity, which you know what it is, and you can explain it and you can articulate it, you can talk about it, then you're going to be able to get people to support you who would love to support you. People who have the means and have the opportunities, either the connections, the relationships, whatever, they will support you if you can demonstrate that you have this level of integrity. And it's not just about competence, it's about character. And if you have them both, and you can talk about them, and that's what True Voice does. It gives you the language to articulate where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, in an authentic way, so that when people receive you, they're receiving your true voice. They're hearing you really. I know some of you all may feel like you're never heard. And I get that. I hear that all the time with friends, associates, clients. You don't really feel understood. But, a part of communicating well so that you can feel understood is on you. And so I find that taking the True Voice assessment myself has given me the language I need to express myself better to those who could or would be in a position to support, help, invest, whatever they need to do in me. And that's very, very important, right? You have to be able to demonstrate that you have the right stuff, that you know what you're talking about, you know what you're doing, and you can be trusted to fulfill, whatever promises that you make or indicate, right? So we're going to get into it right now. Let's talk about, when we talk about instinct, for instance, what is the first thought that comes to your mind when you hear the word instinct, right? What does it mean? There's an illustration that I put together. Some of you all may have seen. If you look on my LinkedIn profile, you'll see that illustration all over the place. It's got a blue box, a sort of a sea green box, and then a forest green box. And they describe both instinct, intuition, and insight. But the first box is instinct, right? And instinct, a simple definition, is it is what occurs whenever a stimulus is introduced. So whatever your senses pick up, anything, smell, taste, touch, anything, sight, anything you see, anything you hear, right? All of those things, your senses are going to be stimulated by something that's been introduced into an environment in which you are participating in. You get thousands of input, thousands of pieces of data every day in your environment, no matter what your environment is. Even if you're by yourself, you're getting new data coming in that you have to instantly, you don't have to, but you do instantly react. Some of those instant reactions are, you're cognizant of them, and some of them you're not cognizant of. Like when you turn the light switch on and your eyes dilate, it may take you a second to get focused, right? Or your they call it octave. Somebody give me the word if you can remember. But your iris, retracts and opens up, right? And you get more light in there, and your brain, it takes that sense, and then you see, right? You have to process the images that you see. You see color, you see shade, you see something is sharp or it's a corner. You see those things, and your brain has to then help you determine from what you're seeing what it is. They're naturally occurring. It's happening. It is reacting based on your sensory response. You're automatically doing it. When you touch something, it happens. When you feel something, it happens. Wind blows, Right now, there's a fan blowing in my background. I can feel the air coming right on me, right in the back of my neck, right? So I can feel that. That's a sensory perception. If I'm paying attention to it, you know, I may do something about it, but I'm actually, my body's going to react whether or not I actually do something. So an instinct is something that is immediate. It is something that you either, you really can't control your instinct. It just is what it is. Now, you can inform your instinct, but you can't control your instinct. It just is what it is. It happens. It's automatic. It's happening, right? The second phase that we want to talk about is your intuition. When we talk about intuition, right, what are we thinking? Is this some mystical, magical belief? Is it something that, you know, it just comes out of nowhere? Is that what your intuition is? That's what you think. You know, if you think your intuition is just your gut reaction, I'm going to tell you, you know, you're confusing intuition with instinct, because your instinct is your gut reaction. Intuition happens as a result of an amalgamation of your experiences, right? So all of your experiences, whether you have personally experienced it, or you've seen it on a screen, or you've somehow developed an intuitive response to what's going on based on historical data. Now, it does not require conscious reasoning, right? You have an intuition that is developed and displayed in your world, and it causes you to then behave. Your intuition causes you either to behave or not behave, right? But you're usually consciously aware of your intuition. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to agree with it, but you when it comes to your awareness and some of your intuitive thinking, you're not conscious of it, but some of it you are conscious of it. The thing about that makes intuition is like so if you think about a collection of instincts, right? Over time, your instincts have led you to intuit a thought, an idea, a concept, right? You develop a feeling, you develop a natural understanding or wisdom about something based on how you responded to that stimuli over and over and over again in the past. You have an intuition about it, right? If you've played baseball, right, then you've been used to, you know, very, very difficult objects being hurled at you, right? If you played baseball, then you've learned how to catch, and because you've learned how to catch, you know, an object coming at you at a speed that you can see it, you know, doesn't scare you as much as it would a person who never played baseball, right? In fact, if you tell a person who's played baseball to catch, they have a similar posture all the time. If you tell a person who's never played baseball to catch, then they might look awkward or feel like it's a difficult moment, and they may have a hard time. And so it's very, very important that but your intuition is always at work, right? It's always moving. It's always helping you and guiding you. And the stronger it is, the harder it is to ignore. You know, when you have a strong feeling about something, it's harder for you to put it to the side. No matter how disciplined you are, no matter how, you know, process oriented you are, no matter how data driven you are, when you have an intuition about something, it's very difficult for you to put it aside, unless you're repressed. And that's a whole different conversation. But when you no longer trust your own feelings, when you no longer believe that your feelings are useful or valid, then you may be acting on those, or if you've had some issue or some neurological issue that's not allowing you to feel, then it's very difficult for you to trust your intuition. So you don't trust it. In fact, you know that it's going to be wrong, and so you just go, what are the rules? And you follow the rules. You put your head down and you do whatever the rules say. You don't use any of your own intuition to come up with that at all. And then there's insight. This is the holy grail for your inner voice. Insight is where your intuition comes together with your absolute knowledge. You know what you know, and you know that you know it. You might be able to prove it, you might not be able to prove it, but you're right. Insight is always deeply intuitive, and it is absolutely accurate all the time. If you have insight into something, someone can suggest to you, this is the scenario, this is how it's working, and this and this is what's going on. You could just tell by just hearing the description. Your insight can be strong enough for you to go, okay, here's the problem. Here's what you got to do. Boom, 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 boom. Do this, and this will work perfectly. Has anybody ever dealt with somebody who has had insight, say, on a technical issue? Maybe you were using a Zoom call, or you're over Zoom or Zoomed out, or whatever that is, and you just need somebody to help you figure out how to make this thing better, how to do it in a stronger way. And then they tell you all you got to do is make sure you have the right lighting, make sure you have the right filters, make sure you have the right this, that, and the other. Here's where you find them. You just click here, go to the bottom to the right hand screen, and you go over here, you follow that, and you click here, you do this, you do this, that, and all because they have insight. They know what the problem is. They understand, and their intuition, their past, previous history, the practices that they've used in the past, everything they've done in the past has helped them develop their insight, and their insight can be trusted and can be leveraged. It's a critically important point that I want to make. People think they have insight just because they have a prediction. No. You can have a prediction of how things can go or how things will go, but that doesn't mean it's accurate, right? You only know that your insight is correct when it actually bears fruit, when it actually is accurate. And if you have a history of certain types of insights, that is a mark of expertise. That is a mark that you have risen to a level of mastery in your industry, in your strategy, in your technique, in your knowledge, that has, that's something to be marveled, because it's very, very difficult to develop the kind of insight that you may have to have specifically on complex things, complex issues. Issues that can be technical or related to the law or related to science and any type of complex understanding of genome issues or ideas related to basic structure or blocks of the cell. These are all complicated things, and it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of rehearsal. It takes a lot of study. It takes a lot of work to develop that kind of keen insight and wisdom as to what to do. When you have developed your discernment in certain areas so well that you can predict accurately what's going to happen next, given the current input, right? This is what's going on. This is what's going to happen next. You just know. And people can ask you how you know all the time. In fact, I was listening to a conversation earlier between a professional mentorship conversation, and the protege was asking the mentor, actually was complaining more to the mentor that it was very difficult for her to get information from other people, because every time she asked, or how did you get what you got, or how did you do what you do, they just said the same things that she's already heard everywhere. She's already heard it, right? She's already heard, you got to do the work. Yes. You got sleepless nights. Yes. You gotta be able to commit more than the next guy. You got to be, all those normal platitudes that you hear when it comes to developing greatness. Everybody says the same thing. But everybody great, is it true that that's all they did was work hard? No, they worked hard specifically at something at the right time, and they were seen and understood to be doing that work by people who depended on them to do that work, respected them for doing that work, and then elevated them because they saw how well they did the work, right? So it's not just I did the work, it's I did the work at the right time for the right people with the right circumstances, and I got lucky enough to be seen so that I can be elevated. That's really what happens, So because if you've ever noticed, and this is just a little sidebar, I was talking to one of my fraternity brothers earlier about what it means to be the greatest of all time. And, that's a subjective thing, right? It's a matter of perspective. When you know that you're great, that's one thing. But to say for yourself, by yourself, that you're the greatest of all time, I don't know that could be accurate. I don't know that is something that people will appreciate, right? It's very difficult for somebody to go, that guy, he is the greatest. Muhammad Ali used to say it all the time, and people challenge him all the time. The biggest thing that happens is, when you proclaim that you're the greatest, everybody comes at you with a challenge. Like, wait a minute, maybe you're not the greatest. If you think you're the greatest, maybe you shouldn't think you're the greatest because we've noticed you've got some flaws in your execution, or we've noticed that, you could do this much better. And, you may be able to compensate it for another skill, but that doesn't make you great. That just makes you, better at this particular set of skills. And so you're not necessarily the greatest. You're just maybe one of the greats, right? So these are things that happens, right? Because if your integrity is wrapped up around you being the greatest, I got a feeling you're not going to get there, right? You're never going to get there because you're really not going to know. Perfection is unattainable, first of all. Second of all, it's something that you can pursue, right? You can't get there, and if you get there, you're probably dead. If you get there, you're probably with God at that point in time. And so when you talk about all three of these concepts, especially when it comes to your integrity, whether you're talking about instinct, whether you're talking about intuition, or you're talking about insight, which again is the holy grail of the three I's, right? That inner voice, those inner voice ideology, right? You really, really have to think about, how they show up in your life. And so I'm going to produce a book and some exercises that I'm going to share in a conference that's coming up, and I'll share the link with the conference a little later on in the program. But in that conference, we're going to be sharing lots of exercises and lots of free tools that you can get access to that will help you understand the difference between all three of those that's inner voice characteristics, right, that I just shared with you, but also help you understand how to strengthen them, right? We're going to talk a lot about that stuff right now, but I want you to know that, you can get the deets if you come out to the True Voice conference we're going to be doing. I think it's on October 2nd, but I'll have to check the calendar during the break time, or have me come back to that if you are paying attention. So let's get into a little bit about when I did the research for this segment of True Voice, instinct, intuition, insight. One of the two questions that I came up with that I think are very, very important are, one, you got to ask yourself, what do you already know that can be enhanced to achieve your highest goals? The second question is, what types of activities can you engage in to sharpen your skills to perfection, right? What do you need to do to hone them, to bring them closer in? How do you do it, and what do you need to do? So I answer these questions for myself because I think it's very, very important. I take an assessment myself, right? And when I looked at question number 5 of the True Voice process, which is again in the intuition section, what do you already know that can be enhanced to achieve your highest goals? I came up with 2 concepts, and I'm going to share them with you because I think it's very important that you learn to develop the language that you have to develop so that you can help others explore who you are, what you're all about, why you're about the things you say you're about, and how you're going to get them done. So question number 5, again, what do you already know that can be enhanced to achieve your highest goals? And my first thought when I did this self-assessment at the time, I did this was maybe 5 years ago, was listen to and study the market for recruitment opportunities. It was very, very important to me at that time to recruit people onto my advisory council, and to understand where they may come from, how I might develop their relationships. And so the second part of that question was for me to interview the best service professionals in the Washington metropolitan area. How do I, get to a point where I could do the TrueVOICE interview with the best of the best? And so I looked for people who could feed my industry, right? Who could feed professional development coaches like myself. And then I went on and I interviewed them. And I used the TrueVOICE process to interview them. I used the TrueVOICE process to begin to understand who they are and how they fit into the industry, so that I can then have what I needed to make my selection. This is a good potential board member or not? Is this a person who might be a strategic partner for me or not? Is this a person who I might want to refer business to or not? Is this a person I might want to accept referrals from or not? These are questions that I used to help me determine that, as well as what we need to do next in our relationship. Right? It's very, very important. And I led that effort. So I want to make sure that when you're running your show, you're the quarterback, right? You have to deliver these types of things. So question number 6 is, what types of activities can you engage in to sharpen your skills to perfection? You have to know. If you don't know, you have to get to know the things that you need to do to improve your skills. All of your skills can be improved. If you think you're finished, then you are. Because a good analogy is like, inflation is something that's a natural occurrence in the economy. It happens. No one's come up with the formula to stop it. All we can do is try to regulate some processes that might help us handle it better. But what we cannot stop is inflation. And from an economics point of view, it's just something that happens. It's almost like asking a river to stop flowing. If you have a river that's flowing and you throw a pebble into that river, that pebble's going to move forward for a little bit, but it's going to fall to the bottom of the river ultimately. Now, sediment may attack it and it may roll around a little bit on the bottom as it becomes sand and gets grinded against other things that are dealing with the current. But ultimately, that pebble, it's once it reaches the bottom of the river, it's done. I mean, that's for all intents and purposes. The river's going to keep flowing past it. That's what happens to your skills. Your skills are like that rock that gets thrown into the river. If you allow the flow of history and time to continue to move past you when you don't upgrade and update your skills, then you're going to be like that rock, that pebble that you threw into the river. You're going to sink to the bottom. You're going to be subject to the ravages of inflation, right? You're going to suffer greatly because you haven't, instead of throwing your pebble into the river, you should have thrown that pebble yourself into a lifeboat that's going to flow along with the river. In fact, it could get ahead of the river if you throw a sail on that bad boy, right? If you have some expertise and you know what you're doing, you can probably go faster than the flow of the water in the river, because now you're looking for the wind to help you out. Or you got a motorboat. The point is, you can engineer and manufacture ways to stay in front of the flow of whatever's going on in your industry and your profession. But you got to be willing to sharpen those skills. You got to be willing to study. You got to be willing to practice. You got to be willing to set aside time just to be better, right? So the answers for me were, what I needed to do was study recruitment techniques and find mentors and volunteers to help me become a maven in that area. Okay, I had to study the business of conference management and success in order for me to feel comfortable dealing with major conferences and learning how to approach them in a way that was meaningful to them, so that I can gain access to collection of professionals all in one space at one time. Great target marketing, by the way. And then I also needed to learn all the various listening styles and techniques that there were so that I can become better, so that I can know what reflective listening was, or I can learn what passive listening was, or I can learn how to really have people ask the right questions to the right people at the right time in the right way, so that people fall in love with me. I had to learn those things. Those are techniques behind all those things, right? So it's very, very important. And True Voice is a part of that process, by the way. Because if you listen to someone else, if you ask them the right questions and you help them dig up the answers that they maybe not have even thought of, you're helping them be reflective, you're helping them be intuitive, and you're helping them dig inside themselves for the authentic truth. And they'll always appreciate you for that, because who doesn't want to deal with the real? If you want to deal with the lie, then people lie to themselves all the time. There are people who are out there who are like that, but that's not who you want to deal with. So you want to find that authentic truth in the person. So learning to ask these kinds of questions and probe for an accurate response is really, 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 really all powerful. When it's all said and done, I should say, everybody wants insight. Everybody wants to offer meaningful ideas and solutions to problems as they occur, specifically within the industry or their profession. Anybody who tells you, I want to be a nobody in my job, I want to be a nobody in what I do, run away. Because if they really mean it, run. They're joking, you have to have a little bit of discernment to tell if they're joking. But if anybody wants to be a nobody, I don't understand them. That's not a person that I want to hang around with. If you want to be, I want to hang around people who want to be somebody. In fact, Zig Ziglar has a wonderful concept that I want to share with you. I learned this when I was working with him doing some strategic planning and ideation around that thought. Everybody wants to be a meaningful specific. Nobody wants to be a wandering generality. Nobody wants to be off topic, or they don't not have a purpose, or nobody wants to wander around in nothingness. Everybody wants to do something specific, something measurable, something concrete, something that delineates and differentiates them. They want to do something with meaning, intentionally, that is received with adoration. We want to be received with love. We want to be received with kindness. We want to be well received by all that have to receive us. So that means that we got to do stuff. We got to think about things, and we have to do things that are going to help us get there in a meaningful, powerful way. And so I want to share with you some techniques that can help you. First of all, I'm a big believer in journaling, mindfulness practice, setting up habit trackers, prioritize task lists, and having meaningful conversations with people who would be in the position to help support your goals and your vision. These 5 ideas and concepts run through everything I teach, everything I believe in, everything I share with people. Yeah, if anybody wants to talk about reasons why that is the way it is, but I'm always going to tell you, the more you get your thoughts and ideas out of your head and put them on paper, they become real. They become easy to share, easy to transfer to other people. The more you keep them in your head, the more jarbled and jumbled around they are, the more difficult it is for you to put words to it. The easier it is for you to misconstrue things or miss something that's critical to an argument or a proposal that you might want to make, right? And so you want to be very careful about how you, one of my friends would say, come off the dome, right? If you want, when you want to be taken seriously, you're going to have to write it down. It really helps you to write it down. In fact, in terms of writing it down, I wrote down this description of what I think insight is truly all about. And so I'm going to lay it on you, and you let me know what you think. If you think if it's spot on, give me a thumbs up. If you think that, it could use some work, give me a thumbs down or tell me what it can use. Here it is. Many of us have extraordinarily little connection with our insights because trauma and negative life experiences have left them underdeveloped. This does not mean that they can't be found and reshaped again. What we lost can be reclaimed. We get to examine the principles and values that make the best in our industries the experts that they are. But we've got to engage, study, gather feedback, and respond. This is the work we all must do. I love all of that ideas. One, because I wrote it, but two, when you think about what insight offers you, insight is the doorway to greatness. The more insight you have, the more you share, the more people begin to understand that you've moved from a technician or a statistician, so to speak, to a strategic mind. You've moved from being able to do the small things to being able to see the big picture and enlighten others as to what you can see, and you'll be right. I mean, that's rare air that anybody who wants to do anything important wants to breathe, right? But if you don't move in that direction, then you're going to be subject to the whims of others. You're going to be subject to how your industry is being shaped, and you're not going to be responsible for shaping any kinds of parts of it that are going to be meaningful and going to be matter to you and to others. Your legacy will be zero because you will have made very little impact. And I'm not saying that it's important to make a meaningful impact, because if it's not important to you, it's not important. But if it's important to you, then you have to be willing to do the things you need to do to make a meaningful impact. So here's some of the things that I picked up from the Bible. And I share this with you not because I'm a rock star Christian. I'm not. I'm probably like 10% Christian and 90% heathen. I'm going to see if you guys are paying attention. Those of you who are paying attention, you might want to respond to that, right? But the real thought is, for me, I understand the Bible to be a collection of ancient wisdom and a collection of text that was written a long time ago about almost everything. And so it's informative to me to go to it as a concept, a beginning point. I don't stay there. I also look at more modern literature and ideas and concepts, quotes from some of the best and famous people out there. I also look at the science. I want to know what the neuroscience says about these things that I'm talking about. I want to know what biology means and how it works with us. I want to know what the psychiatrists and the sociologists have to say about some of these ideas that I share with everybody. And so I go dig deep, and I find it. If you find anything I've ever done, you're always going to have links to some TED Talks or some training materials or something that's there that you can tangibly use, but also provides credibility for what I'm talking about. So let's talk about what the Bible says. The Bible says that literally the scriptures talk about how we can develop and manage our instinct, our intuition, our insights really well. The first thing it says is that we should acknowledge God, who endows us with everything we need to claim, literally, for ourselves and others, that we have the right stuff. That goes against a lot of what I know many of us have been taught about how to be humble. But I will tell you, if no one knows you're great and only you know you're great, can you prove it? So think about that. There is a way for you to share your greatness in such a way as the right people know, because they now can call on you to participate, to activate, and to perform in your area of greatness. But if the right people don't know that you're great in this area of greatness, then opportunities that could improve your ability to move forward in life pass you by because you didn't want to tell anybody. You have to come up with the right articulation to tell people you have the right stuff. Now, as you practice in your area of specialty, no matter what it is, you're going to develop a powerful level of discernment. This is in the Bible, but you got to practice. You got to rehearse. You got to experience and engage completely and thoroughly. If you do this, you're going to be able to find the support that you need. The Bible says you'll find the support from God, but you'll also find the support from the community around you. And you'll find the support from those other industry leaders who are like, oh, wow, I see you. You're at our level now. We really got to, okay, let's work together. Let's do something. That's how that happens. And because that happens, your talent multiplies. The things you could do, you can do so much more now with the support of others, with the right team, with the right mentors, the right advisors, counselors, the right therapists sometimes. Absolutely, with the right coach, right? You can do great things with the right people surrounding you. You need people to invest in you. They're going to invest time, talent, and treasure, and learning how to use and develop these relationships in a way that's meaningful. And meaningful, when I say meaningful, I mean win-win. In a way that everybody wins, is what you're going for. That's what you should be going for. Because if you go for an opportunity where somebody loses, then somebody's feelings get hurt, they get damaged. We're gonna talk about that a little bit later. But you don't want that. You don't want to hurt people. You don't want to damage people. You don't even want to run the risk of that happening. The next thing the Bible says is that your intuition grows the more you practice your spiritual practice. The stronger your spiritual practice, the stronger you're gonna have. You're gonna have more introspection. You're gonna have more time where you're just working with the universe. You're just working with God and nature. You're just, alone time, strengthening that relationship with the universe, making sure that your intuition is what you think it is. It's not something that is by accident. It's something that's on purpose. You're in line. It's aligned with your destiny, aligned with your purpose, right? The more you do that, the more you're going to find yourself at a position where you feel like your soul is responding at a master level. It's almost like you're walking with the omnipotent. You are touching God. There are times when Miguel McShitmihai, I think that's just how you pronounce it, talks about this in all of his psychological research. He talks about being in flow state, being in a state of whatever you're doing, what you're doing it at such a high level, you're doing it so well that time just seems to stop. It's like you can slow this thing down and just be in it so much, and you won't hear the phone ringing. You won't experience anything else except it. You're in it so deep. You're in flow state. Marshall Goldsmith describes this as mojo. When you got your mojo working, you're in flow state, right? You are doing this thing at a high level. Whatever it is that you do, right? It's almost like you've been touched by the hand of God. You can be more in those moments than you can imagine that you could be, because you're having a magic moment. If you can learn how to harness this, right, and you can now use this greatness as a tool, and people begin to expect it from you. It can be leveraged. It's something that you can create a great, massive energy and following behind. But you have to remember two things. And again, this is all in the Bible. You got to remember that the moment you become ungrateful, the moment you lose that gratitude in this gift that you've been shared, that's been shared, with you, through you, by you, then you begin to lose it. You begin to lose pace with what's reality. You begin to look for times, yesteryears. You can't look forward because you're too busy looking back to, where you were back in your heyday, so to speak, right? Everybody wants to go back when things were better. Things are only better in the future. I mean, best is yet to come is a better way to think about betterment. Better way to think about betterment. Never thought about it like that. Okay. The last section, I think that the Bible shares, I think is critically important. There's not only do you have to stay grateful, right? Stay in gratitude, in that gratitude moment always, right? But be willing to share everything, what you know, what you have. You have to be willing to share, because it's in the sharing that you get to bless others. It's in the sharing that you get to participate in others' greatness, be a support mechanism for someone else. And if you're doing that consistently and regularly, you will be known that you'll become legendary. You will be known as one of the best ever. If you keep it all to yourself, though, it's not going to work right. It's just not going to work right. If you try to duck the opportunity, then I think you're going to find you bring more pain and anguish to yourself than if you don't. I remember a time when I was growing up when Charles Barkley used to say, "I am not a role model," as if he has the choice of who I pick as my role model. No one has that choice. Only the person that's choosing can say, "You're going to be my role model." You don't have to agree. You don't have to accept. You can't really deny it. And the more time you spend trying to deny it is less time that you could be being a role model. You can just do your thing. And people can see you doing it and go, "Okay, I want to be like you." But there's no way you can shirk. You can't perform well and be known as a great performer and also not be a role model. It works against you. You have to be willing to share this gift. And ways you share the gift is by being an example, right? Is by being a role model for others. If you don't, then I think you're cutting off your own sort of supply. And the Bible would say, you're really not doing what you were intended to do. You're not doing what you were put here to do. And no one wants that. No one wants to do that, right? So those are the lessons that I learned from the Bible. But there are even more lessons that we learn from the great literature when we start looking at what does it take to really, really develop your insight. There's a story of Isaac that I wrote that I'm not gonna share with you today, and I usually will, but I'm not gonna do it today because I'm running out of time. I got some stuff I want to get to that is very, very important. But if you pay attention to the literature about instinct, if you pay attention to the literature about intuition and insight, you may come up with these same 14 concepts or ideas that I came up with. Number one, trust is big time. You got to learn all there is to know about trust. And then you have to execute. You must trust. Because trust that you give to others allow the sort of the universe to set in motion the right series of circumstances that are going to bring that trust back to you. And then you're going to give that trust out again, and it's going to come back to you. And you're going to give it out again, it's going to come back to you. And it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger all your life, as long as you understand the underpinning currents of what trust really is and what it is not. There are people out there who say, "I will never trust anybody. I don't trust anybody." Or trust but verify. You can't trust half-heartedly. If you trust half-heartedly, you get half-hearted results. I mean, you don't get the full result of the full benefit of full trust. And so you have to be able to discern how to trust, and how to develop trust when you don't have the trust. There's a skill there, right? The next issue, number 2, is you have to learn how to undo your instinctual disadvantages, because your instincts don't really have character. You know, they're either good or bad based on how you inform them, how you develop them. If you develop your instincts or allowed your instincts to be developed by others, then they're not developed to serve you best. And you have to learn how to undo that and to redo your instincts and your intuition in a way that's going to serve you and your mission and your sense of purpose. If you don't do that, then you'll always be subject to the whims of other people, or organizations that you might belong to or join, groups or that you might, work for, or whatever. Whatever actions that you're taking, you have to ask yourself, is this furthering my mission? Is it furthering my purpose, or is it furthering the purpose of someone else? It's okay that it's furthering the purpose of someone else, but it can't be always furthering the purpose of someone else, or you're going to lose whatever sense of self you have, unless your sense of self is to serve others, which I totally get that. But how do you know you're serving others if you're not being served? If the law of reciprocity hasn't come back to you in a way that you see the fruits of your service as so beneficial that it's worthy for you to continue. And I think you gotta look at that paradigm. You gotta look at that, what you're doing. Number 2. Number 3. Number 1, you gotta trust. Number 2, you gotta lose your extinction advantage. Number 3, you gotta talk it out. You got to be willing to speak. You have to be willing to share. You have to be willing to be as authentic and genuine as possible, specifically with people who are empowered to support you. You don't want to be around Oprah, who could just, with a phone call, make your life magical and have nothing to say besides, "Oh, Oprah, I think you're great." Come on. Give Oprah an opportunity to wave her magic wand. Let her be your fairy godmother. Give her the opportunity. If you don't give her the opportunity, and she finds out that you gave the same opportunity to someone else, how do you think Oprah's going to feel about that? Think about that. That's just the way your friends feel when they find out 5, 10, 20 years after the fact that you had an experience or something that they could have helped you with, or at least just empathize with you, or maybe even gave you a contact that you needed to know, but you didn't share it with them. They feel like, well, why am I your friend? Why didn't you call me? Now you gotta undo that madness because you haven't talked it out in the first place. You haven't shared your thoughts and ideas. I know they might be infant ideas. I know they might be in their pubescent stage, but that's okay because they grow up with a little help from your friends. And you have to learn how to discern who you can and who you cannot share your ideas with and how to share them well. I mean, everybody is just not going for the disclosure statement or non-disclosure statement, right? You're not going to be able to get everybody to sign that NDA. That does not mean that there aren't people out there who wouldn't be absolutely supportive, but they have to know everything before they're even willing to pay attention. So, what are you going to do? You got to give them all the information. You got to talk it out. You got to talk it out to your friends. Talk it out to your family. Practice talking it out so you get good at it, right? Learn. Take the TrueVOICE assessment. Learn how to articulate your ideas, your thoughts in a way that's going to be meaningful and powerful to first yourself and then to others. Come up with the language you need to come up with to do it. You got to talk it out. You got to speak it into existence. Right. Number 4. You already know the unknown. You already know things that you're not giving yourself credit for. But the more time you spend in that deep introspection, the more time you spend journaling, the more time you spend reflecting on your day, your week, your month, and the activities that you get, I promise you're going to get stronger, and you're going to bring from your unconscious mind into your conscious mind all the things that really make you great, the things that really make you stand out, and you'll be able to articulate it so much better. But if you want to stay where you are, just don't pay attention to yourself. You'll be fine. You'll be right there as the world flows right past you, right? So be careful. There is a great unknown. There is a great unknown that's already within you, but you got to do the work to dig that out. You have to be introspective, right? Number 5 is act anyway. Sometimes there's a slight hesitation. There are seeds of doubt that you have before you go for something. Your instincts are not necessarily initially aligned, right? So you have to dig and find that moment. But when you find that moment, you got to act. You got to go. You can't stay in analysis paralysis forever. You can't continue the same thing over and over, the same way, the same time, the same pace, the same rhythm, the same balance. You can't do it. Again, you're going to get left behind. You'll never be great by focusing on the status quo. You got to be willing to act anyway. You got to be willing to shake things up. You got to be willing to try something new. Yes, you got to be willing to fail. But fail forward if you're going to fail. Number 6 is quit with the hesitation, right? If you know something is right, you know something is the right thing to do, right? But go for it. Because the longer you hesitate, the more you give your brain the chance to go, no, this isn't for me. I don't think so. That's not acting boldly. That's not being courageous. It might be, you can say, being conservative, or it might be, you can say, taking your time. But don't take too much time. Make the decision. Now, I know the world doesn't work this way, but as I was training to become an officer in the United States Army, decisiveness was one of the 16 criteria I had to measure up to as a leader. And that's important, because if you have a leader, and you think about that, if you have a leader and they're stuck, right? They're not able, or they won't make a decision. Either it's because they're ignorant of the situation that's in front of them, or they've been emotionally compromised or hijacked mentally somehow, some way, and they're paralyzed. That happens to people quite a bit, right? But at that point, you lose a little something in terms of your willingness and ability to serve a paralyzed leader. You have to make decisions. Making decisions is good for you, good for your character, good for the people who follow you, because they see that you're willing to take charge. They see that you're willing to move the thing forward. They see that you're willing to act. And it inspires them to do the same, because you become their role model. When they might be, wanting to quit or give up, but they see you getting up to move toward the thing, to move toward the objective. You might help them summon up or inspire that extra reserve, that extra passion, that extra kick they need to have to keep going. Right? So don't hesitate. Make the decision. Number 7, keep it natural. Right? Don't do freaky stuff from out of left field that no one saw coming. Right? People that trust you People that believe in you, they believe in you for a reason. But if you shake it up and change the script and don't even letting them know that you're doing that, now you're putting them into an awkward position where they don't know who this new person is that just showed up. And this new person, good or bad, they have to now have to have a level of, they have to be oriented to this new person. And it may take them some time. So please, 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 keep it natural. Keep it going. Keep the vision flowing. Keep the mission going. Stay in front of things. Keep communicating what you're thinking, how you're thinking, why you're thinking it. And people will get a sense for who you are and begin to trust that more than they trust anything else. And it's really important. You got to keep it natural. But now, if you learn something new and you're going to try something new, say, you got to learn something new. I'm going to try something new. And here's why. Because that way people can go, okay, I see you. I understand it. I'm with you. Let's go. But if you didn't even give them the benefit of knowing that change was coming and you didn't talk to them about it, but you just assumed that they would be with you, you're going to find yourself hanging out there by yourself. You don't want that. Choose your inner voice more often. You cannot improve your intuition if you don't run with it sometimes. You got to listen to yourself. Because if you don't listen to yourself and you find success by not listening to yourself, right? What are you teaching yourself? You're teaching yourself that you can't do it. You can't make any calls. You can't make any decisions. You aren't powerful. It's a dangerous thing to do to yourself. Yes, you have to listen to others. Yes, you have to take in what they need to do. You have to fit in a team. You have to fit within the society. You have to work with other people. You have to do that, yes. But choose your own inner voice more often. Practice that. Because that's how you develop that instinct. That's how you develop that intuition. Look at what you know. Make some assumptions. Go for it. I promise you, you're going to get better at it. The more you do it, you're going to get better at it. The more you get better at it, the more you're going to develop your insight. Talked about that before. All right? You got to be willing to write your own script. You got to be willing to say, you know what? Yes, it's been done this way. I'm going to try something different. Create that dialogue within yourself that says, this is how I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. Write that in. Take the time to write down your new thoughts or how you're going to approach this differently. Write your own script. You have to. Whether or not you implement it or not, you got to get it out your head. You got to write it down. You got to put it down on paper. And I think it's very, very important. Number 10 is you need to understand that knowing absolutely is the ultimate thing. So that means, how do you know something? Right? You know because you've practiced it and you've participated in it, and the results have come back to you favorably. Right? You got an A on the paper. You won the contest. You learned how to do something so well. People are asking you for your ideas and advice about something. This is how you know. And when you know. You don't have to be awarded. You don't have to get the reward. You don't have to get a couple of attaboys. They help, but they're not vital to you knowing that you've mastered this thing, because you know where you were, and now you know where you are better than anybody else. I remember taking a couple of classes, and this is a perfect example for me. I remember taking a couple of classes in college, and I didn't do so well. And in the grades, and the professors, if I ever came back their office hours or talked to them about it, they always felt like, I was going to be argumentative, or I was going to somehow try to make some excuses or get a better grade or whatever that was. And that was never me. I always thought that, I was grateful for the time that someone else spent trying to impart some information for me. And I realized that, as I became stronger and stronger mentally, I could receive education and training and indoctrination better than when I first started. And so that to me is a victory. The grade in the class didn't matter too much to me as the leap of learning. That's like the part where I walked into the class not knowing anything about this. When I walked out of the class knowing something more, whether I got a good grade or bad grade was immaterial, because I grew. And that's what I was there for. I was there to grow in my knowledge. I wasn't there to get a grade or the best grade or whatever. I was there to do the best I could and grow as fast as far and fast as I could, amongst all the other things that I had to try to do. Right. So that's where you are. So you got to know that what you know, and as long as you're growing in that effort, that's good. It's truly yours. Number 11 is you have to understand that this growth, this inspiration, this instinct, this insight, this intuition, this wisdom is truly yours to have. You got to believe it. You got to believe it, because if you don't, then you're not going to go the extra mile that you need to go in order to sort of grab that brass ring, run a little bit further, and at least meet a number 12. There's a lot going to be coming at you, right? If you're going to be, a lot of data is going to be coming at you, a lot of people are going to be coming at you when it comes to your growth and development. A lot of ideas are going to be coming at you. You got to sort it out, right? That's number 12. Sort it out. You got to be willing to go, okay, based on what I currently know, and based on what I currently have, I can't spend a lot of money on this thing. So this group of ideas are out, right? Okay, so this is what I got, or I can't find the funds that I can't go to Princeton or Harvard or Yale. I can't find the money for that. Even if they accept me, I can't find the money for it. So if they accept me, they got to find the money for it. If that's the case, I'm in, right? But if I got to go to community college, that's what I got to do. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to have to try as hard, or I'm not going to still put the effort in. And, guess what? Psychology at Yale, pretty much the same class. Psychology 101 and Psychology 101, right? So those first, but you got to think about it. You got to sort it out. You got to think of how it works with your current resources, your time, your investment and expectations of others, right? So all that has to come into how you sort it out, but you got to sort it out. And you got to make decisions. You got to select, and you got to go for it, right? The last thing, number 13, is stop waiting. Cut it out. You've been doing that already. You've been waiting long enough to improve your insight, to improve your instincts, to improve your intuitions. You've been waiting long enough. Stop doing it. There's a couple of tools and techniques that I have that I can share with you. One is TrueVOICE. So if you saw it, and if you heard about that, then I'd love to give it to you. I'll share it with you. It's already a link to that on here. Another is the 9 steps to professional mastery, right? These are techniques and strategies you could use to grow your relationships to master a level so that you can do whatever you want to do. There's also a couple books I recommend. I definitely recommend Mojo Quadrant from, I think it's Marshall Goldsmith. And I recommend The Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey, Stephen M.R. Covey, not Stephen Covey. So if you're looking for that, look for Stephen M.R. Covey. Speed of Trust, that's his thing. He's really good at that. He understands how to manufacture trust, how to create trust, how to help other people understand trust. And all the things, all the tools I talked about, all of it is in the training manual that I'm creating right now. I'm in the process of doing that. And if you want that, when it's all said and done, definitely send me a text message, let me know, and I will get it to you. The training manual, I have the working title so far is really imagining, creating. I don't even have a working title for it. Do I have a working title? No, it's just the TrueVOICE expansion. So that's what I'm going to use, right? Because I already wrote TrueVOICE, but now I'm diving deeper into the 5 categories and the 5 topics that are TrueVOICE. Next week, it reminds me, we're going to be talking about the next aspect of True Voice, which is commitment. And we're going to be sharing with you how to understand commitment, how to use commitment, how do you evaluate commitment, your commitment, and the commitment of others in a meaningful, powerful way. We'll come up with all kinds of rules and all kinds of tools, all kinds of strategies to talk about that. I hope you will join me. I hope you will discuss it with me. I'm really looking forward to it. I've already started gathering tons of research and data that I think you'll love and enjoy. Other than that, we're going to sign off. We've been at this for about an hour and 17 minutes now, so I guess it's time for us to get this party moving forward. I love you guys. I really appreciate you. Again, if you can, definitely watch some of the earlier series in True Voice so you can get caught up to what we're talking about and know what it's all about. Definitely download the program. And I promise you, oh my God, I told you I was going to let you guys see my next full day web training process. This is going to be full day live, but it's going to be live on the web. So we're going to be doing another live series. We're going to have lots of guests, lots of people. Think about it like an online conference all day, all exploring, taking a deep dive into True Voice stuff that I didn't have time to get around to in Coffee Tea, You and Me, because it's just that much. We don't have that much time. But we're going to be going through some exercises together. We're going to be doing some things that will leave you, everybody who attends, with a greater understanding of their own true voice and an understanding of how they can help others bring their true voice out. So that it will strengthen all of your relationships, professional, personal, all of them. I promise you, you're going to love this thing. And let me see, what did I do with this event? There's my events page. Okay. And here's the True Voice Business Conference. Yes, the True Voice Virtual Business Conference is going to be October 2nd. And the cheapest ticket you're going to get for that thing is literally right now. You get your tickets, and I'm only going to sell a couple of early bird tickets. So you get your tickets right now, and you'll be able to get into this thing. If you want to think about being one of the sponsors or being one of the speakers or presenters, definitely hit me up. I will do what I can to help you. I'm only going to offer those slots available to certain people at certain times. So, you got to really be able to have something that you got to bring to the table for small women-owned and minority-owned businesses. If not, you just got something to peddle, something to sell. You probably just need to go ahead and buy a ticket and come. I'll make sure you get some opportunities to share your voice with the rest of the on screen with the rest of everybody else. But I'm not going to help you be a sponsor or anything of that nature. That wouldn't be appropriate. So yes, there it is. And I will put the description in the catalog. If you want to get your ticket, I would highly recommend you do it right away because the price is going up. It might go up 2-3 times. I can't even tell you what the price is going up to. But once I get a significant number of people excited about this and moving forward, I'm gonna shut it down because I want the atmosphere to remain as intimate as possible. Look forward to seeing you there. Hope you had a great time. I know I did. Welcome to Coffee Tea, You and Me, and goodbye. It's Coach Powell signing out.